Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, my brother, most foul and degrading?
I take issue with the terminology foul.
You always take issue with something. It's like I go through all this effort to refer to you in a meaningful way, and all you can say is, I take issue. Why can't you just accept it for once?
Because I bathed this morning. So you can't describe me as foul.
Foul is not an aroma. It's a state of being, a mind, a quantification of worth, an insult.
Yes, but it's better suited to my purpose if it's simply an odor.
Today, I and this most heinous individual are reviewing a book titled Blood of Heirs by Alicia Winstall Burke. And we also have a synopsis. I know, surprising.
And because we failed to introduce ourselves earlier, we are Adventuresome Reviews. Lyndon Tollock is the fiercest of her father's daughters, more than capable of one day leading her clan. But caught between the warring parents, Lyndon's world begins to unravel when another of her father's wives falls pregnant. Before she has time to consider the threat of a brother, a bloody swath is cut through the heart of the clan, and Lyndon must fight, not only to prove her worth, but to simply survive. Ranulph Olseta wants nothing more than to be a worthy successor to his father's throne. When his home is threatened by the aggressive Woden Empire, Ran becomes his city's savior. Powers within him are revealed by the enemy, and he is condemned to death. Confused and betrayed, Ran is forced to flee his homeland, vowing to reclaim what he has lost, even if it kills him. Facing an unknown future and battling forces both familiar and foreign, can Lyndon and Ran overcome the odds threatening to drag them into the inescapable darkness? The corner of my eye, I saw very little flailing on your part.
I'm trying to be more gentlemanly, noble, regal, superior to some rotten crust I might be acquainted with.
Well, I find that just purely insulting. Why are you associated with such people?
I don't know. Anyway, so the book kind of fell into two sections for me. I really liked the way Rand's book started. The story doesn't tell it. The synopsis, rather, doesn't say it because that's a little spoilerish, even though it's the entire impetus of his first few chapters and what makes them solid. But Rand starts off the book with a grievous mistake and then spends the next few chapters trying to rectify it, and it makes for a very engaging read. Lyndon's story didn't pick up until the second half of her narrative for me, because the first half was just her waddling around doing stuff.
I would agree with you.
My wisdom prevails. I will turn you into someone worthy of reading books eventually. I'm being very sassy towards you today.
Very sassy. I'm going to have to draw up a lawsuit and sue ya.
That's uncalled for and aggressively violent.
Well, at least we... Ugh.
Anyway, express some thoughts. Regale us with your intellect, your imagination, your purview of despair.
So one of the things that really leapt out at me throughout the story was Lyndon's achievements. So what's really important to know is that she is the eldest daughter to a clan leader who has had only daughters, and leadership of the clan is passed down from son to son through the male line. So as she actually is in line to the throne, seeing as she has no brother, which is one of the major plot points to the story. Her father, however, is slightly against it because it's against tradition and he just really wants a son, yada, yada, yada. So a lot of Lyndon's arc is proving to her father that she is a capable fighter and she can ride with the soldiers when they go to war or to fight off antagonistic clans. And so how the author built her, I'm going to say legend, is, for me, I found very appealing because her very first step toward proving her father is she tames a horse by herself, which is, to the clan, is a major achievement because they're very big horse riders. And so she tames this big, not quite evil horse, but this completely untamed horse without any of the usual tools. So, right? That felt like a fairly decent
We don't need to go into all the stuff she does, but yes, I agree. She sets out about halfway through the book to prove that she is a worthy heir for her father, and she successfully does that, but not just through one means or another. She does it through a variety of actions, some of which are actively impressive. And one of the things I actually quite enjoyed about the book, about her story, was how she acquired her knives. She doesn't start off the book with knives, and in her region, iron is very rare.
Metal is very rare. It's all flint and stone weapons.
And so I'm not going to spoil her because it's somewhat relevant to the plot, but she acquires a pair of iron knives. And the author does a great job of both expressing how valuable iron is to their society and to the other clans, but also making the way she acquired the knives meaningful to both the story and to her, so that they feel like Lyndon's knives. They're not just random knives she pulled out of an army that the reader will forget. The knives become linked to her as a character, and that's actually something I really enjoy. That it's a little bit similar to how Aragon makes Bersinger in the fourth book.
Completely different!
Well, what I mean by that is that he doesn't just find some random weapon, or the character doesn't just find some random weapon. The way they acquire the weapon links it to their narrative, and I enjoy those elements in a book. I enjoy feeling like I understand what the shape the character is supposed to have. Telling the reader and showing the reader a meaningful way that they acquire their equipment is a good way to do that. While I really liked Rand's beginning,
swapping characters.
Yeah, because it's two different leads. Rand is really good at the start when he has the impetus from his grievous mistake pushing him forward, and then he falls off as he leaves the city, because then it becomes far more standard and nothing really interesting happens. It's a standard magic is forbidden and he has magic, and then he has to go off because he's outlawed, and
so he escapes prison and goes charging out into the night.
And
that's pretty much the entirety of his story arc. Is
nothing interesting, no new visuals, no plot. It's just him wandering around, getting caught or injured and healed and stuff like that to find the distant school of magic. And it just not enough there to really differentiate the narrative from the rest of it.
Well, that's not an immense.
It was just alright as opposed to how interesting the first part of his story was.
Rand's story character also walked a very dangerous line, because he was given this informational scroll really early on after he ran away from town or what have you. And multiple characters throughout the story tell him to open the scroll, or elsewise he will regret it. He continuously does not, which is just a slap your forehead. Why not? The author saved a little bit of face by not having anything dramatically terrible happen as a result, but still, it irritated me about Rand, which is probably the largest qualm I had with the book, which is saying the book is fairly decent, all things considered.
Yeah, I would have said the book is fairly decent. About 3.5 stars. Maybe rounded to there, some distant corner.
I like him though. I do think there were a couple decent parts about Ryan's story later, because he starts getting haunted by a ghost, ooh, which is marginally interesting, and it's all noble, and it does lead into the end revelation for the story, which we won't get into.
Your disagreement is not appreciated. Regardless, you may continue with your diatribe.
I think I finished up with Ron.
Okay. You mostly said all your stuff with the wind. What about the side characters?
There were no real side characters.
Yeah, like, the story is almost entirely... Well, Rand's story is almost exclusively Rand. Like, another character comes in and travels with him, but she has no real heft on the story.
It's not that she has no personality, because she actually does have personality.
I guess so, it's just... I do like Lyndon's side characters, though. I do like. Like, not like as in, oh my god, they're all so beautiful and perfect. Oh, whoa. But the roles they filled. Her father, despite wanting to pass on the lineage to a son, remains largely likable and not a barrier, but a soft antagonist she has to overcome without being unlikable. He doesn't just completely stonewall Lyndon's whatever. He gives her the chance. And her mother in the situation is very much wanting Lyndon to be safe and not be the dangerous horse riding monster and human slaying person she wants to be. And while there are times her mother is annoying or too manipulative, it still provides her environment with an interesting dynamic.
Yes. Lyndon's mother draws an interesting character dichotomy that I only occasionally bought. Because Lyndon's mother is dangerously close to becoming abusive. No, she actually is straight up abusive. However, she's not abusive in the way that most evil parents are described, because she cares deeply about Lyndon. The mother figure has had such a tumultuous, harrowing past, which we don't really get into, that it's so my road or the highway, and this leads her to being abusive, mean, manipulative, and just controlling over Lyndon. And which part of what actually allows the father to keep his only soft, aggressive stance. Because where her mother is cold and what have you, her father is warm and a fairly decent parental figure. However, the mother walks a very thin line, just becoming straight up villainous, and she falls into that category very frequently.
Yeah.
But once again, it adds to the interest of Lyndon's environment.
Yeah.
Lyndon, however, felt ever so slightly too old to me. She's 13 years old, and she has had not a single thought toward clan leadership. Not an inkling, completely oblivious to the world, insulated to the realities of the camp hierarchy by her father's warm nature. And then all of a sudden her mother slapped her and says, what happens if your father gets a son, huh? And suddenly Lyndon's eyes are opened up and she says, I must become clan leader. At 13, and mostly because her mother yelled at her a bunch.
I didn't find that unbelievable. The last thing I think I want to say is that Lyndon's story ends on a really strong note that got me excited.
The entire last half of Lyndon's story is very fantastic.
But Rand's story ends kind of on a sad trombone. Lyndon's story sets up so much narrative for a second book, and it's a trilogy, I believe, but I don't know if the other books are published, but there's a lot going on in Linden's story, and Linden is set up to be in the middle of it, but also to be an active player in it. And there's actual danger, and then on the other side, you have Rand's story, and his conclusion is about taking him out of events. And it just completely saps any interest in continuing Rand's character. One final point, and so, like I said before, all told, about 3.5 stars would be my rating for this book.
Mine as well. I feel we've beat down on the book probably a little more than it deserves because the writing was fine.
The writing was fine, the characters were fine, and second half of Linden's book was excellent. Like, really, really fun. Intrigue, politicking, all the characters are coming to them. There was a great sense of peril. Linden was awesome in scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, truly just awesome, without having fireballs or magic. Like, just a pure fighter, assassin-esque character. She was really cool, but believably cool as well.
Yes. The book introduces this rival leader, right? And it's probably one of the things, and he instantly makes you uncomfortable. It's probably one of the things the book did the best, and it's really nice. And so you have these moments, similar moments throughout the story, where the author handles scenes and parts exceptionally well, mostly centered around Linden.
So, any other random thoughts to belabor their thoughts with?
Starting off with two things, one of which is only slightly imperative. The book went the first 4 chapters, not a single swear word, and then all of a sudden it dropped a swear word. I was like, wow, a swear word, okay, we're swearing now. And then it proceeded to swear like 3 times through the rest of the book, which is kind of amusing because whatever the swear would be, I'm like, wow, okay, we're swearing now.
I see.
And then 2, it's Rand's story, the early part of Rand's story with the war with the Empire of Wodan and his trials and tribulations in that area, led me to suspect the story would be a lot more grandiose than it actually turned out to be. This is not to say that was a bad thing. A book is not about a war between nations. It's a smaller narrative, and so that's about it.
Toodaloo, goodbye.
Fare thee well, our future friends.